Okay, here we go, friends. We're going to practice the parts of the flower. We're going to need to know these and what each part does. First, we have the sepal. That's the green part that protects the bud until the bud opens. Petal, which we all know the petals, right? That's the part that attracts the bees or the birds or whatever to pollinate it. Pistil, pew, 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 you know, like a gun pistol, pew, pew. That's where the eggs are made or make the seeds. And then stamens that make the pollen. You can see the pollen right there on the end, right? So we say sepal, petal, stamen, pistil. Sepal, petal, stamen, pistil. If you practice it like that over and over, you'll get them all memorized because you're going to need to know these later. So again, sepal, petal, stamen, pistil. Sepal, petal, stamen, pistil. Okay, thank you for listening, friends. I'm missing you. I know the other teachers are missing you too. Bye. Hi, friends. Mrs. R here again. Just in case you're watching, just know that Mrs. Malim and Mrs. Christensen and my class, all three, oh my, I got hair sticking up there, will be all watching me as I'm teaching science. So you are in the right place if you're wanting to watch science and you're in 4th grade at Harvest Christian School. Well, today I am indeed Mrs. Christensen, hello, not Mrs. Christensen, I'm Mrs. Roxburgh. I know who I am, sure. But I'm feeling kind of a little bit like Elsa today, so I'm gonna be Elsa. You can be whichever character you would like to be, but I'm saying back, coronavirus, back, I say. Okay, well, back to science. So we are doing lesson 3.4, observing flowers, starting on page 52 in your science book. You're going to be following along with me as I read, and we're going to be reading pages 52 through 54 for this particular lesson. In time period, I'm going to be stopping and talking periodically as I read. Please follow along with me. Please try to stay on track. Please try to, think about what we're doing and process the information and not be thinking about whatever video game you're going to play after this. You can think about that later, but right now we're going to focus on science. Okay, and God's creation. So here we go. So follow with me. I'm on observing flowers. No matter what time of the year it is, there are flowers blooming somewhere in our country. Here in Southern California, where we live, we have flowers blooming constantly. Do you know the names of the flowers that are blooming where you live? Do you know which flowers are most common in your area? Take a good look at a flower that is growing in a field or garden. How tall is that plant in which the flowers grow? Is it growing in rich, moist soil or sandy, dry soil? What color, shape, and size are the flowers? After you have observed the flower carefully, find a wildflower garden flower book and look for the flowers in that book. Check your library or ask your parents or teachers to help you. You will learn many interesting things about the flower. You might learn how it got its name, where it grows, what insects and other animals feed on or near it, and whether it is a Native American plant or indigenous to our area or not. Look especially for the common fall flowers pictured on pages 55 through 58, and we'll look at those in a minute. The parts of a flower. God has created a wide variety of beautiful flowering plants, and yet most of them are variations of the same basic design. This is because all flowers have one purpose for the plant, to produce seeds. The stem that holds up the head of the flower and supplies it with water and food may be, let me move over, may be short or tall, thick or thin. On the underside of the flower's head are special leaf-like structures called sepals, number 1. And you can see that in the picture there. The sepal encloses and protects the flower when it is a bud. Above the sepal are the petals, number 2, which help attract birds and insects to the flower. The center of the flower head is made up of stamens, number 3, and pistils, number 4. The stamens make pollen, the fine yellowish dust you often see on flowers. The pistil contains many undeveloped seeds in the enlarged part down to its base. You can remember the flower parts by starting at the outside and thinking of SP, SP, P. Some flowers have only three of these parts. Some plants, such as the maple tree, have 2 kinds of flowers. The staminate flower has only stamens, and the pistillate flower has only pistils. Pollinators. When honeybees, bumblebees, wasps, flies, and other insects visit flowers in search of nectar, pollen brushes from the tips of the stamens onto their bodies. As the insect travels from flower to flower, it moves pollen from the stamens to the pistils. Scientists call this process pollination. That's a big word, 4 syllables, pollination. Okay, here we go. So there is number 1, sepal, petal, stamen, pistils. That'll help you remember each part. Fruit growers are so dependent upon honeybees to pollinate their apple, cherry, plum, and pear trees that they rent hives of honeybees during the time their trees are in blossom. Field crops such as peas, onions, carrots, cabbage, and alfalfa also depend on insects to pollinate them. Gnats, beetles, and ants do their share in pollinating plants. God designed insects to do this important work for man. Some birds and bats are also designed to be pollinators. After the flower is pollinated, tiny sperm cells in the pollen fertilize or unite with the undeveloped seed at the base of the pistil. Now the seeds will be able to grow into new plants, each after its own kind. Okay, here we go about weeds. Have you ever wondered why some flowering plants are called weeds? A weed is any plant that grows where it is not wanted. Some weeds arrive in North America accidentally in shipments of other seeds. Other weeds were brought here on purpose. For example, the early colonists brought burdock with them because they ate the root. Burdock root is not a popular, next page, popular food today, but the burdock plant continues to thrive. Most weeds are very tough and easy to grow. Boy, isn't that the truth. If you've ever had to dig weeds out of your garden or your flower bed, you know what I'm talking about. The root system of weeds help prevent soil erosion and break up hard-packed soil. Deep roots also bring minerals that are deep in the earth up near to the surface where other plants can use them. Some weeds are useful as medicines, dyes, or food. Many weeds produce great quantities of seed. This is very important to the birds that depend on the weed seed for food. Many flowers in one. Did you know that when you pick a daisy, you're really picking more than one flower? The part of the daisy that we usually call the flower is made up of hundreds of tiny flowers. The white parts that we often call petals are not true petals at all. Each one is an individual flower. Since these flowers radiate from the center, they are called ray flowers. The yellow disc center of the daisy contains many tiny tube-shaped flowers. Because these flowers form a disc, they are called disc flowers. Asters, sunflowers, and cone flowers are a few of the other flowers which have both ray flowers and disc flowers. Many of our favorite flowers are in the daisy family, which is also called the sunflower family or composite family. All of the flowers in pages 55 through 58 with an asterisk before their names are members of the daisy family. How many others can you find? And we're going to read those sections later at a later date. But make sure you're looking at the daisy and the cut view and how there's disc flowers and ray flowers. Also,